Hey guys, Fletch the Football Observer here, and today's video is going to be a Premier League review show for Game 3 of the new 2019-2020 Premier League season. This round of fixtures provided us with some big results, some shocking results, some big and great goals along with it, and this is the place where we review and we oversee it all. So, without further ado, let's begin. We're going to begin with arguably the fixture of the round, as Liverpool maintained their 100% winning start to the season by beating Arsenal 3-1 at Anfield. Joel Matip drew first blood for the Reds just before half-time when he headed home Trent Alexander-Arnold's corner. The Reds then blew Arsenal away after the restart. First, David Luiz gave away a penalty after pulling Mohamed Salah's shirt, and the Egyptian converted from 12 yards. And then moments later, Salah scored his second of the afternoon, which was a superb individual effort, running away from the Gunners' defence and placing his shot out of the reach of Burnley and into the bottom corner. Lucas Torreira, off the substitutes bench, managed to grab a goal back for the Gunners late on, but it proved nothing more than to be a consolation goal as the final whistle blew for the Reds to be 3-1 winners. Very clearly a great win for the Reds here. They keep that 100% winning start to the season intact against an Arsenal side who did put up much more of a spirited performance at Anfield than they have in recent years, but ultimately Liverpool were just too good for them, particularly during the 15 or so minutes after the restart. Up next for Liverpool though, they face Burnley, whilst for Arsenal, they have another big game on their hands that's next on the horizon as the North London derby looms as they face Tottenham next Sunday. Our next game brings us to Aston Villa, who picked up their first win of the season after a 2-0 win over Everton at Villa Park. Villa opened the scoring with 20 minutes on the clock when Wesley was played through on goal, and the striker finished well to open his goal scoring account for the season. Everton had chances to equalise, most notably Alex Iwobi's effort that hit the post, but the Toffees couldn't find a way back on level terms, and in the end, Villa put the game to bed late on when Anwar El Ghazi scored Villa's second of the evening to safely secure all 3 points. Quite clearly a superb win for Villa. They finally got their first win under their belt, and in doing so, their first points of the new season. And now the important thing here is they need to build from this, and they will look to build on this when they next play their next league game, which is against Crystal Palace next weekend. Whilst for Everton, they will look to forget this game immediately and will look to bounce back from this defeat when they meet Wolves on Sunday. Our next game on this list saw Frank Lampard claim his first victory as Chelsea manager as his blue side beat Norwich 3-2 at Carrow Road. Chelsea broke the deadlock very early on when Tammy Abraham turned home Cesar Azpilicueta's cross, but almost immediately afterwards, Norwich were back on level terms when Teemu Pukki set up Todd Cantwell to finish from close range. 10 minutes later, Chelsea were back in front when Mason Mount continued his impressive start to the season by firing the Blues ahead, but on the half-hour mark, the Canaries were back on level terms thanks to their main man in form, Teemu Pukki, who struck home to score his 5th goal of the season. In the second half though, Chelsea managed to score the winning goal as they went ahead for the 3rd time in the game when Abraham scored his second of the afternoon, striking the ball beyond Tim Krul as Chelsea went on to win the game and take all 3 points. Hard fought win for Chelsea this one, wasn't entirely pretty, but they got the job done against the Norwich side who were brave, but slight defensive errors and a lack of luck and quality at times was the difference maker. Norwich will look to bounce back from this when they face West Ham next weekend, whilst Chelsea will be looking to put together back-to-back wins when they face Sheffield United on Saturday. In our next game, Newcastle provided us with quite the shock as they managed to defeat Tottenham by 1-0. The only goal of the game came in the first half, with Newcastle's new signing Joelinton proving to be the difference maker on the day, collecting the ball from Christian Atsu's pass and then firing beyond Hugo Lloris and into the back of the net. Tottenham dominated possession but couldn't find a way to break down a stubborn Magpies defence, although Spurs may feel robbed of a penalty after Jamal Lascelles appeared to bring down Harry Kane in the penalty area, but neither the on-field referee nor VAR gave anything, and as a result, Newcastle held out for the victory and in doing so grabbed their first points of the new season. This proved to be quite the result for Newcastle and Steve Bruce, a result that was desperately needed having lost their opening 2 games. And this is proof that defensively they can be strong and they can frustrate teams. The only thing I will say though is that now they just need to find a bit of consistency in doing this. They managed to keep out and beat Tottenham here, but will they be able to go forth and do that week in, week out? Especially next week when they're against Watford. As for Tottenham, they'll be hoping that this game was a bit of a one-off, but it is a tough loss to take here, and it isn't the kind of result that you want to be going into a North London derby against Arsenal with. That's on Sunday. The Vitality Stadium played host to the next game on this list as Manchester City travelled to Bournemouth as Pep Guardiola's side beat the Cherries by 3-1. Sergio Aguero got the ball rolling for City in the first half, firing into the back of the net before Raheem Sterling doubled their lead following David Silva's through ball. Bournemouth halved the deficit just before half-time with a stunning free kick from on-loan winger Harry Wilson, but City went on to kill the game off in the second half with Aguero on hand to do so when he prodded the ball home to secure all 3 points for the defending Premier League champions. Obviously a much needed win for City given how they dropped points last weekend, but they weren't entirely convincing for some parts of this game. And Bournemouth, to their credit, gave City a good go and unnerved them at times, but ultimately couldn't continue the pressure for the full game, and eventually City's quality shined through and they got the victory that they needed. Up next for Bournemouth is an away trip to Leicester, while City host Brighton next weekend. Our next game brings us to Leicester, who picked up their first win of the season at the expense of Sheffield United, and it was a fantastic goal by Harvey Barnes that proved to be the difference maker on the day. Leicester took the lead in the first half when Jamie Vardy fired the Foxes into the lead, but in the second half, Ollie McBurney equalised for the Blades shortly after the hour mark as he headed home beyond Kasper Schmeichel. But the Foxes were to retake the lead not long after the equaliser, and they did so in some style, with Harvey Barnes firing on the half volley, a goal worthy of winning any game, and that's exactly how it proved to be as the Foxes held out to take all 3 points. This win means that Leicester maintain their unbeaten start to the season and of course pick up their first victory of the new campaign as well, and what a way to do it with a superb goal by Harvey Barnes. As for United, a little bit of a reality check for them, but they did play very well despite the result and were outdone only by a piece of sheer quality. The Blades turn their attention to their next Premier League game, which is against Chelsea on Saturday, whilst the Foxes have Bournemouth to contend with on the same day. Our next game saw a brace from Sebastian Haller help West Ham to pick up their first victory of the season away at Watford. Things got off to a nightmare start for the Hornets when Abdoulaye Doucouré fouled Manuel Lanzini in the penalty area, and from the resulting spot kick, Mark Noble converted from 12 yards. Watford did manage to equalise and in doing so scored their first goal of the season through Andre Gray, but in the second half West Ham ran away with the game. First, Haller restored the Hammers lead when he tapped home from close range following Felipe Anderson's cross, and then he got his second in the afternoon to secure all 3 points for the away side when his acrobatic effort, again from close range, found its way into the back of the net. So at the third time of asking, West Ham finally get their first win under their belts, and what a great win it was. Also good news for the Hammers faithful is that their new signing, Haller, managed to get on the score sheet and get his first goal in a Hammers shirt, so all good there. As for the Hornets though, well, the only good thing I can say about them is that they at least have got their first goal of the season. Other than that, a lot of defensive issues and warning signs should be starting to sound for Watford and Javi Gracia, as they now have played 3 games and have lost all 3. They'll be hoping their fortunes turn around when they face Newcastle next weekend, and as for West Ham, they'll be looking to make it back-to-back victories when they face Norwich in their next game. Our next game saw a last gasp Raul Jimenez penalty rescue a point for Wolves as they made it 3 straight draws in a row since the start of the season against Burnley at Molineux. Ashley Barnes opened the scoring for the away side, striking home on the half volley to score his 4th goal of the season. Burnley held on to the 1-0 scoreline until the final few minutes of the game when Eric Peters challenged Raul Jimenez inside the penalty area, and it caused the referee to point to the spot, and from the resulting spot kick, Jimenez stepped up himself and converted from 12 yards to secure a point for Wolves. So from this result, Wolves remain unbeaten this season, whilst Burnley will be kicking themselves for not holding out just a minute or two longer for the 3 points. After Europa League commitments this week, Wolves will turn their attention to facing Everton in their next Premier League game on Sunday, whilst Burnley will host Liverpool in Saturday evening's fixture. In the penultimate game on this list, we come to Southampton, who picked up their first win of the season against 10-men Brighton following a 2-0 victory over the Seagulls at the Amex Stadium. There was only 30 minutes on the clock when Brighton were reduced to 10 men when Florian Andone got sent off for a straight red card following a horror of a challenge on Jan Valery. The 10 men though thought they had taken the lead not long after that when Lewis Dunk headed home from a corner. However, VAR interfered and cancelled out the goal for an offside call. 10 minutes after the restart, the deadlock was finally broken, and it was done so by the away side as the Saints took the lead through Musa Djenepo, who scored a great goal, making an instant impact following his introduction from the subs bench. Nathan Redmond put the game beyond all doubt later on when he was on hand to tap home Sofiane Boufal's cross to secure the victory and the 3 points for the Saints. A very big result this for the Saints, a win that was clearly much needed following a difficult start to the season that's seen them suffer 2 straight defeats. But as for Brighton, a defeat that provides them with a bit of a reality check. The sending off clearly didn't help matters, but for the Seagulls, they were outdone by 2 very well taken goals. Their next task doesn't come any easier either, as they will be facing Manchester City at the Etihad next weekend. Whilst for Southampton, they will be hosting City's close and fierce rivals Manchester United at St Mary's on the same day. And in our final game of the round on this list, it proved to be another shock for this weekend as Crystal Palace picked up their first victory of the season, stunning Manchester United and the Old Trafford faithful with a 2-1 victory over the Red Devils. Palace took a shock lead in the first half when Jordan Ayew found the back of the net. United were offered a route back into the game in the second half when the referee pointed to the penalty spot after Scott McTominay was fouled in the penalty area. This time, Marcus Rashford stepped up, but saw his spot kick cannon off the post and out of play. Daniel James thought he had rescued a point for the Red Devils when he curled home the home side's equaliser, but Palace provided another shock when Patrick Van Aanholt's shot was too hot for David De Gea to handle, and the ball found its way into the back of the net to give Palace all 3 points. A fantastic and out of the blue win for Palace this one. I say an out of the blue win because I imagine that this victory probably busted a lot of accumulators this weekend. But I'm sure Palace fans won't care one bit about that because those Palace fans have wanted something that will properly ignite their season. And I imagine that this result, this victory that they've been wanting and craving will, or probably will, or maybe do exactly that. As for United, a big reality check for them. They are still far away from where they want to be, but they'll simply want to put this game behind them. They'll want to forget this game even happened and move on to the next one, which is against Southampton on Saturday. Whilst Palace will be looking to add to this victory when they face Aston Villa in their next game. And that wraps up the Premier League review show for Game 3 of the 2019-2020 season. Guys, if you have any thoughts, comments or opinions on any of the round's results or any of the round's talking points from the games, I'd love to read them in the comments section down below. Otherwise, hit that like button on the way out if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things would be greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch the Football Observer. This has been another Premier League review show, and I will see and speak with you all again soon in another video.